Heyo everybody, and welcome to DRG Update 34 Weapon Tweaks video. Today we'll be taking a look at all the tweaks that have done and some of the other things that have been going on. This sheet is thanks to Sir Comrade on Reddit. I believe his Discord name on the official DRG Discord is Oil Factory, and I want to take a thank at Lucent Glow, Greyhound, Meat Shield, and Trigger Happy for the rest of the information. But they provided a paste bin, this paste bin, that Oil Factory just kind of organized and all that. But in any case, we'll be starting with the Engineer and his Warthog, his actual gun, one of his main. T2 expanded bags got an ammo increase of 2 from 40 to 42. T3 high capacity magazine got a nerf of 1 bullet, so now it went from 3 to 2. And T5 turret whip got completely changed and buffed for the better. Its ammo cost for the turret went from 10 to 5. Projectile damage went from 120 to 160. Its projectile velocity went from 50 meters per second to 75 meters per second. And its radius went from 1.5 to 2 meters, and it now has a max damage radius of 1.5, and it does about half damage at the very max of that radius. All in all, very good for Warthog. Moving on to its overclocks, lightweight magazines got nerfed by 2 ammo, and that was moved to base for whatever reason. And mini shells was nerfed by 12 from 90 to 75, or 78, excuse me. Overall, probably not going to affect these overclocks too much. I'll still be running mini shells and ammo, just holding down the button to just nuke everything. It's some good shit. Moving on to Stubby, its horizontal base recoil pitch was reduced from 45 to 40. I'll have to play with it to actually see what this does, but it's probably not going to be that significant. The significant parts are 2 of its overclocks, turret arc and turret EM discharge. These got changed, these got buffed quite significantly, in fact. Turret arc is probably still going to be a meme, but it's going to be less of a meme. The arc duration went from 15 seconds to 20 seconds. Its arc damage went from 4 to 6, with a 0.2 second tick interval. So overall, pretty big buff to its actual duration and damage. The max arc distance went from 10 meters to 5 meters, and the arc slow went from 70% to 80%. These are very good. Quite good. The turret arc electrocution aura radius was increased to 2 meters, and the friendly fire slow was removed, and the damage reduced to 1. Very nice buff. It's still probably going to be a beam because, bugs can walk on the roofs and all that. You're gonna have to use bug repellent to actually get some use out of this, but it's still a good buff. But turret EM discharge got a massive buff. Its AoE damage went from 40 to 60. Maximum damage radius went from 2 to 3. Friendly fire was decreased to times 0.1. Okay. Electrocution penalty on the base gun was removed. Magazine penalty was added by 5 bullets. And the damage penalty was decreased from 3 to 2. All in all, quite a significant buff to this actual overclock. We're going to see a lot of it. A lot of it. For Deepcore 40mm PGL, its base gun was buffed quite significantly. The base max damage radius went from 1.5 to 2 meters. Base minimum damage amount went from 15 to 50%, which is insane. T1 HE compound got a damage buff of 5 from 15 to 20. T2 expanded ammo bags went from 3 to 2. T2 high velocity grenades moved to T3, and T5 proximity trigger radius had a radius increase added of times 1.1. All in all, a very good buff to Deepcore because most people were taking T5 sticky or spiky grenade. For its overclocks, compact mags or compound rounds went from 4 to 5, and RJ 250 compound got a significant buff. Now it reduces your reload time by 0.5 seconds. Its AoE damage went from 25 to 35, the reduction of it, and it has an ammo increase attached onto it by 1.7. It's real nice now. A slight nerf to the PLG is the PLG and platform gun now inherit the dwarves' momentum. So if you're moving along, your bullet will be moving along with you. It basically acts as a grenade now, so just be careful about that. Breach Cutter. T3 improved case ejector. Reload went from 0.4 to 0.6. Probably not going to matter. You're going to be using Born Ready anyway. T5 Explosive Goodbye now has a new plasma field effect, which is also on persistent plasma for the experimental plasma charger, or yeah, EPC. It now applies 20% slow, its fire damage went up from 5 to 8, and the tick rate was increased. All in all, quite good for the Breach Cutter. Just some things that weren't doing so well got buffed. Spinning Death, one of its overclocks, got buffed by 0.04. That's how much it was buffed for. So not a very notable increase for Spinning Death. Inferno, max ammo penalty has been removed, so that was a massive buff to Inferno. It's now no longer the worst overclock in the game. It's still probably worse than Base Gun, but, you know, what have you. Notable breakpoints for Engineer is that 2 EM discharges now kills a grunt, and RJ250 compound with Incendiary needs 1 damage mod to reliably meet grunt breakpoints due to RNG associated with fire. All in all, with very nice changes to Engineer. There's some things where I don't like the game mechanics one, but overall, I can't complain. Going to Gunner next, he has a lot of changes associated with him. And starting out with Leadstorm-powered Minigun, the base stun chance went from 30 to 20, and this is because T3 improved stun got a massive buff to it. Now the stun duration went from 1 to 2, and the stun chance, it now has an increase to its stun chance. Very good buff to this. Base spin down time went from 3 to 2 seconds, an overall nerf to the actual gun. Base spread reduced from 5.5 to 5.5, what? 4.5. I don't quite understand what this, but T1 improves platform stability, got nerfed slightly. Just a very, very slight amount. It's not really going to matter for too much. The base cooldown delay was added 0.3 seconds, so whenever you stop firing, it'll take not even half a second to start cooling down. It's gonna affect some people, probably. It's gonna affect me, definitely. It is definitely a nerf. T1 magnetic refrigeration now halves that cooldown. Very simple. T4 magnetic bearings, spin down time went from 3 seconds to 1 second, and its max accuracy went from 0.5 to 1.25. A buff to it, and maybe we'll see it more. I probably will still be going with damage at full rate of fire, or the other one, which is spin up time. T5 aggressive venting overheat duration went from 10 seconds to 5 seconds. Quite a massive buff to it. And T5 cold as a grave, heat refund went from 0.8 to 0.6. Overall, a minor change to base Leadstorm. The most notable change is aggressive venting and the improved stun chance. Everything else probably doesn't matter, and you won't be seeing magnetic bearings at all. Who knows? We'll have to play a little bit to figure that one out. Moving on to its overclocks, Bullet Hell went from a 50% recoil chance to a 75 ricochet chance. It's a buff, I guess. Ricochet range went from 5 to 6. Who cares? It's still a bad overclock. It exists still. Leadstorm got a stun chance added onto it from minus 30% to 0.25 times. And then the stun duration went from 0 to times 0.5. So with base gun without the stun, you have a 5% chance to stun and a 0.5 second stun. It's definitely a buff for Leadstorm, but they didn't want any dead mods on it, I guess. I don't understand it. Next is Thunderhead Heavy Autocannon. This thing got changed up quite a bit, with its base rate of fire growth speed got increased from 0.3 to 0.4, and the T2 lighter barrel assembly got nerfed from ×2 to ×1.5. It's It's a weird change. I don't know what they're doing, but it feels nice on base gun, because I never took T2 lighter barrel assembly. The base minimum rate of fire went from 3 to 3.4. T2 improved gas system, the rate of fire increase went from 1.5 to 2, and it had minimum rate of fire went from 0.2 to 0.3. This is a very nice buff. I do feel it, because I do take T2 improved gas system. T2 lighter barrel assembly got nerfed slightly, with its minimum rate of fire went from 1 to 0.6. Okay. T3 supercharged feed mechanism, minimum rate of fire went from 0.6 to 0.3, and T5 feedback loop got nerfed with a 10%, went from 20 to 10. It's, yeah, this is definitely a big old change. That T5 feedback loop hits a lot of builds, mostly mine, and Big Bertha, Carpet Bomber, all those. Neurotoxin Payload doesn't care about it, but a lot of builds do. Speaking of overclocks, Carpet Bomber got its direct damage nerfed again. Not again, but a bigger nerf to its direct damage, from 6 to 7, and its effects radius went from 0.7 to 0.6. All in all, it's a slap on the wrist. The biggest nerf is T5 feedback loop. Combat mobility got its reload time bonus removed, and instead changed for a rate of fire growth speed increase of times 1.5. All in all, a good change, because nobody cared about the reload time, let's be honest. Next is Neurotoxin Payload. The direct damage penalty was decreased from 3 to 2. Its area damage penalty was decreased from 6 to 5. Its effects radius was doubled from 0.3 to 0.6. And the neurotoxin chance was changed from 30 to 50. All in all, quite a good buff, and it's really going to be probably one of the main ones that you see, along with Carpet Bomber still. Next is Bulldog Heavy Revolver. Its base damage went from 50 to 60, and both damage mods on it were nerfed by 5. So if you take both damage mods, you're not going to be feeling too much, but if you don't take one of them, you have a 5 damage buff. It's significant, because now base Bulldog can now one-shot a web spinner, hitting armor. Base ammo was decreased from 28 to 24, and its base weak point damage went from 15% to 25%. In turn, its T3 hollow point bullets went from 50 to 35. All in all, it got a 5% weak point nerf, but we'll still be seeing weak point to be seen. And its breakpoints got changed a bit. Now base Bulldog now one-shots web spitters on armor, and with both damage mods or just a weak point mod, it can one-shot a Mactera spawn. Quite nice. Quite nice. Its overclocks chain hit got changed. Its ricochet went from 33% to 75%. This is when you hit a weak point, I believe. It might not, actually. Volatile bullets damage penalty went from 25 to 10. Okay. Weird. Very, we'll see if it gets nerfed again, but it's definitely an overperforming overclock now. Homebrew Powder went from damage range of 80 to 140 to 75 to 200, and it was moved to the balance category. I like this change for Homebrew Powder. It makes it stand out a bit more than, you know, just a terrible overclock. 6-shooter got nerfed. Max ammo went from 8 to 6, and rate of fire went from 4 to 2. Ugh. It was an overperforming overclock, and now it got nerfed. I can't complain. Elephant rounds got buffed by 1 ammo. Ammo penalty went from 13 to 12. Okay. Doesn't matter. Really doesn't. Probably. Who knows? And in any case, moving on to BRT Burst Fire Gun. Its base damage went from 20 to 21. Its base rate of fire went from 2.5 to 3. And T2 disabled safety went from 3 to 2. It's a nerf and a buff to base. Listen, we're not going to be saying too much. Like, it's whatever. Its overclocks experimental rounds went from 36 to 30, the ammo penalty on it. And I still won't take it, because I already run into ammo problems because I refuse to take ammo on that thing. So I don't care. Electro Mindlets got changed significantly, and now they're a really good overclock. The electrocute duration went from 2 seconds to 6 seconds. The electrocution damage went from 2 to 3 with a 0.25 second tick interval. The mindlet lifespan went from 3 to 5 seconds. The damage penalty on the gun went from 3 to 2, and the magazine penalty got increased from 6 to 12. All in all, a very, very good change to this overclock. We'll be seeing a lot more of it. Micro flechettes, a terrible overclock that was on this gun, went from having your damage to just having a flat penalty of 11. Well, it's still a terrible overclock, but it's less of a terrible overclock now. A niche change that's not really a gun, but mostly traversal. The zipline launcher, its base max angle went from 30 to 32, and T2 upgraded connection joint went from 5 to 6. Okay, it's not that much of a buff, but it is definitely a buff. I still won't be using it, and also something else with the zipline launcher that got changed is bug AI. If you are on a zipline and there is creatures with ranged attacks, they will be coming for you. They will prioritize you over dwarves on the ground. And another thing is that turning around on the zipline is now slightly slower. So, good luck everybody else that is on a zipline. The wet t-shirt gunner is probably no more. Moving on to Driller. Driller got quite a significant change to most of his overclocks, and some of his base guns got like minorly changed, the biggest one being EPC. But we're starting with Flamethrower. The base damage went from 10 to 11, heat remains 10, and unfiltered fuel, the T2-1, went from 5 to 4. This isn't going to change anything. This isn't going to change any of my builds. T4, it burns, went from fear 13% per particle, went to 20% per particle. And also the CRSPR's flames got changed a bit, and they are down here. The fire debuff went from 5 to 6, and the tick rate was slightly increased. Okay. Not gonna matter that much. You're probably gonna notice it maybe a little bit. In any case, the CRSPR's overclocks, compact feed valves, got a buff to it. The reload time penalty was added by 0.2, and max ammo went from 0 to plus 25. So, all in all, good change to it. Base Melter was massively buffed. Its max ammo penalty was removed, and movement speed penalty was also removed. Instead, it now has a magazine size penalty of 15 ammo, and its flame reach was also penalized by 3 meters. Its damage went from 2 to 4, and it is now a monster of an overclock. It's now good. Very, very good. Cryo Cannon base gun got buffed very, very slightly with T3 improved pump. Pressure gain rate went from times 1.7 to times 1.75. It's just a mod. It's the slightest change. The base gun didn't get changed really at all, but who cares? Tune Cooler got hit with a nerf. It now adds a charge up time penalty of 0.2 seconds, and a pressure gain rate penalty is also added of times 0.8, and it was moved to the balanced category. So now it's no longer perfectly tuned, it's just tuned. Ice Storm got hit with a buff and a nerf at the same time. Damage bonus versus frozen targets times 2 was added, and a max ammo penalty of 25 was of 50 to 75, so a 25 change was added on. We're still only probably going to see it on Dreadnought missions. We'll see about it on other missions, but still. Subata 120, the T3 recoil compensator went from 20% to 30%. I never took it, so who knows if I'll take it now with auto fire. Chain hit, weak spot chain hit chance went from 50% to 75%. It's still it's still kind of an overclock that nobody's going to take. Tranquilizer rounds got hit with a buff. Its penalty to rate of fire went from 4 to 2. All in all, it's quite good. Now, experimental plasma charger. Ooh boy. Its base charge shot heat generation went from an overheat to 0.4. So now you won't overheat when you shoot a charge shot. Its base charge speed went from 0.7 to 0.6, so a nerf to its charge speed. Base recoil recovery improved from 145 to 150. I don't know what that means, but okay, why does an experimental plasma charger have a recoil? Who knows? T4 heat shield moved to T2, and both T2 damage mods went to tier 4. Okay. That's mostly a buff to Flying Nightmare. Speaking of Flying Nightmare, it got changed a lot, the T5 mod. Damage multiplier of times 1.2 has been added. Its radius of times 0.55 went from to times 0.40, and its charge speed penalty was removed. All in all, quite a good buff to Flying Nightmare, and maybe we'll see it more than Thin Containment Field, because Thin Containment Field got nerfed slightly and indirectly nerfed in other places. Charge shot heat generation went from times 0.25 to times 0.8, and whenever you do Thin Containment Field, like minerals or anything, explosions now apply physics to them, so they will go flying. An overclock on Thin Containment Field, or on Experimental Plasma Charger, Persistent Plasma now has the Explosive Goodbye effect on the... It slows and deals more damage. Charge shot penalty went from 20 to 15, and the area damage went from 20 to 15 as well. In all cases, it's okay. The HE grenade, the grenade on driller, got changed from 4 to 6. Max damage radius of 2.5 meters has been added. Its minimum damage falloff went from 20% to 35%, and its max damage got increased by 10 from 30 to 40. It's not good still. Breakpoints for these things: with Overcharger, Flying Nightmare meets Breakpoint Grunt Breakpoints, and without Overcharger, Flying Nightmare meets Grunt Breakpoints with T1 area damage and T4 area damage. It's yeah, Breakpoints, everybody. Those exist. Moving on to Scout. Scout got slightly changed, mostly his M1, and there's a big old breakpoint box that I'm gonna have to read. But in any case, Deepcore, the base gun, got 25 ammo added onto it, not too much, and the overclocks got slightly changed. Overclock feed mechanisms recoil went from times 2.5 to times 2, and electrifying reload got buffed quite significantly, with electrocution duration going from 4 seconds to 6 seconds. Its damage penalty went down from 3 to 2. All in all, a buff to electrifying reload. It's still going. It's going to be a good overclock because of one of the breakpoints. The M1 Classic got changed a massive amount. Its base focus speed went from 1.55 to 1.6, and in turn, T2 faster charging coils got nerfed slightly by 5%, going from 30% to 25%. Base damage went from 50 to 55, and base weak point damage was removed from 10% to 0. I guess it's to compensate for it. I'm not too sure what happened there, but it doesn't meet a breakpoint by itself, I'm pretty sure. It might meet a breakpoint. Oh, yeah, it does. It meets a grunt breakpoint, just slightly by 2. T4 hardened rounds moved to T2. T2 hollow point bullets damage went from 25% to 20%, and T5 focus fear, its range got increased to 4 meters, and its fear factor got increased by 50%, from 200 to 250. All in all, a buff to M1 Classic, just base. Very nice. Minimum clips, one of the overclocks that everybody liked on it, has its max ammo bonus removed, and instead changed for a magazine size increase of times 1.25. We're not going to be seeing that anymore. It's gone. Goodbye. Hipster got changed massively. Its damage penalty got changed from times 0.6 to a flat value of 17, and its max ammo got changed from times 1.75 to times 1.913. Yeah, this is an insane change to Hipster. It now can one-shot grunts. Let's just say that. Supercooling Chamber got very slightly buffed. Very, 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 very slightly buffed. Its ammo penalty went from times 0.635 to times 0.665. And its focus speed percentage nerf went from 50% to 40%. That's a change. Jury Rig Boomstick. Its T3 improved stun got changed to add a stun chance of 20% per pellet, and its stun duration got increased to 3.5. So, yeah, now it's one of the longest stuns in the game, tied with trank rounds. I don't think we'll be seeing it because it's contending with damage and ammo, but still, it's a nice change. Its overclock shaped shells got changed as well, going from a base spread of minus 35% to minus 50%, and it no longer nerfs 2 ammo, or 2 pellets, it nerfs 1 pellet. The Zhukovs got changed a bit, mostly for the best. Some things like embedded detonators aren't going to really see this change, but it is nice for the rest of the build. Zhukov's base horizontal spread went from 36 to 30, base max ammo went from 600 to 650, T4 expanded ammo bags went from 150 to 100, so embedded detonators aren't going to see that because you take both ammo anyway. Base weak point damage multiplier went from 0% to 15%, and T3 better weight balance spread went from 50% to 60%. Very nice change to base Zooks. We're going to see more cryo minelets, mostly because of a change. We're going to see more custom casings, mostly due to a change. And we're going to see gas recycling, hopefully. Not due to a change, just due to base Zhukovs. In any case, custom casings got its damage penalty removed, and a fire rate of -2 penalty has been added. Note on your screen, probably whenever you go to look at custom casings, it'll give you a -4, but you need to half that because of the way Zhukovs work. Cryo minelets got its minelet chance increased because apparently they had a set chance to activate. Why is that a thing? I have no idea. But it went from 70% to 100%, so very, very odd. In any case, we look at notable breakpoints now. Breakpoints with base M1 OCs, so things like aim assisted, anything that's not hipster or anything that increases damage. It always kills a grunt in the face, no matter what. T2 armor break for 2 times blow through body shots, kills, or 1 focus shot. So you can, shoot twice and kill it, or focus shot and kill a grunt. Alternatively, take T1 damage and focus damage for blow through body shots or 1 focus shot. Quite nice. Breakpoints while using M1 hipster. T1 damage, T4 weak shot, kills a grunt in the mouth. T1 damage, T2 armor break with T3 focus damage, kills a grunt through body shots. So you can focus shot and just kill everything. T1 damage or T4 weak point allows for 2-shotting Mactera spawn. Misc breakpoints for M1. You need T1 damage, T2 armor break, and T3 focus shot to one-shot acid spitters in the body. You need T1 damage, T3 focus damage, and T4 weak shot to kill a guard with a focus shot in the mouth. Some misc breakpoints for GK. Electrifying reload will now eventually one-shot a grunt in the face. If you just peck it once and then reload, it'll kill it. It's quite nice. And again, these are the credits to everybody on the Discord. And so we end off this nice reading with this. This is another thing that Oil Factory has made, or Sir Comrade on Reddit. He's made a nice little thing of this. It's quite nice. These things got nerfed, got buffed, and all this, and you can read it for yourself. But in any case, I will be heading off. I'm glad that you stuck through this entire thing, but it was a massive read for a man who is dyslexic. You guys have a wonderful night.